Hi everyone, I'm Obscure Girl. I like movies. I like weird movies. I like weird, trippy, obscure movies that I feel like no one has seen or is talking about. Whether that be because the marketing was so bad, or because they're just really old, or because you're like, I think that was the fever dream I had when I was 5. I'm here to tell you, it wasn't. Let's talk about it. So Scooby Doo month is coming to a close. Spooky season is by far nowhere near over. But for this, I've already covered a movie from each of the three major eras, I feel, of Scooby Doo movies. The classics, the 90s resurgence, and then the modern day ones that just keep coming. Now, I think it's time that I let you guys know my full ranking of my top 10 favorite Scooby Doo movies. These are all like there's so many Scooby Doo movies at this point, and they're from all over the place. These are just my personal top 10 favorites. If they're not on the list, either I didn't think they were great or I just didn't see them because, again, there are so many. But please put in the comments below your favorite Scooby Doo movie. I want to hear about it, especially if it's one I haven't seen yet, and give me a recommendation that it's a good one. Love to hear it. Let's get started. So, like a lot of my list videos, this is going to be a spoiler light video. I'm just mostly going to say the synopsis and a couple things I like about each movie. There shouldn't be really any real spoilers. Um, Also, it's Scooby Doo movies. Like, you know, you know. Okay. Anyway, number 10, Scooby Doo meets Batman the Brave and the Bold from 2018. I really liked this one. I thought it was cute for sure. They just threw so many Batman villains in along with the Scooby Gang. It made me so happy. I will say I actually preferred when they had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet up with Batman Brave and the Bold. I thought that was a really unique, fun, and like good movie. This one is definitely more family, honestly more kid centered than the TMNT one was, which is kind of surprising that there's such a difference between the two. But either way, this was a really cute movie. Batman needs help solving mystery he hasn't been able to solve yet, and so he brings in who else but Mystery Inc. And again, they throw so many Batman villains at Scooby Gang. It is absolutely fantastic. And enough said. One other thing I really liked about this one was that I was one of those kids who loved the Scooby Doo movies or Scooby Doo and blah blah 2, which always had guest stars. So, like the Addams Family, the Three Stooges, the Harlem Globetrotters, and of course the Batman episodes. So I used to eat those up. That was my favorite of the shows of Scooby Doo from like the classic era. And so seeing Batman and Scooby Doo just in this modern animation style, modern setting, but still the same kind of vibes as the old episodes was really, really cool and nostalgic for me to see. Absolutely. Number 9, Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog from 2021. This was a mashup that we've been waiting for. At least if you were my generation, these are the two franchises that just, duh, obviously at some point they have to meet. And when they finally did, it was absolutely fantastic. It was the Scooby Gang goes to the middle of nowhere and ends up meeting Courage and just finding out, like, wow, a lot of weird stuff happens to you here. And just Scooby and Courage together is exactly what we wanted it to be. The two different animation styles really, like, they bring out both in this, which is really, really cool. Really awesome to see. And again, just Courage finally getting some validation from the Scooby Gang. It's like, no, this is actually happening. It's okay, buddy. Um, Absolutely love that. It's what we wanted it to be, for sure. Number 8, Happy Halloween Scooby Doo from 2020. I just covered this. This was such a fun movie. And again, Scooby Doo meeting up with Elvira Mistress of the Dark is one of those combos that's like, yes, thank you. We needed that. I appreciate it. Thank you kindly. Yeah, uh-huh. And then adding in just Bill Nye and then also throwing in the Scarecrow from the Batman movies, which once again just proving Batman and Scooby Doo definitely live in the same universe. And it's just really, really cool to see. The jackal lanterns that were the bad guys were really, really fun, and just having this very Halloween centric Scooby Doo movie was also just it's it's chicken soup for the spooky soul, honestly. Very much recommend checking out first of all, checking out my video on Scooby Doo Haunted Halloween, but also checking out the movie itself, of course. Number seven, Scooby Doo and the Goblin King from 2008. Of course, when I saw that Scooby Doo meets a Goblin King, I had to check it out to find out if there was any Labyrinth reference whatsoever. There isn't, but it's still a pretty good movie. This is another one that takes place during Halloween, and there is the fairy Princess Willow, voiced by Hayden Panettiere, who gets captured by this magician, the amazing Krutsky, voiced by Wayne Knight. And he wants to like use her power and everything to become an all-powerful magician, and the Goblin King is not happy about any of this. And basically, Scooby and Shaggy have to go into the underworld full of Halloween type creatures in order to like save the princess and save the gang, because there's this prophecy that if things don't go get better, the gang's going to turn into what their Halloween costumes are. So like a werewolf, a witch, and I forget what else, to be totally honest with you. But so they go through the underworld. There's all these goblins and things like that. And also, just the casting in this is stacked. Like I already said, Hayden Panettiere, Wayne Knight. You also have Jim Belushi. You have Wallace Shawn. Lauren Bacall is in this. And then you have Jay Leno as Jack for Jack O'Lantern, who ends up being an on and off big part of the movie. But also, most importantly, the Goblin King himself is voiced by none other than Tim Curry himself. So this is the other property where Tim Curry is with Scooby Doo, besides Witch's Ghost, and it's delightful. Like it's still definitely a kiddie movie. These are Scooby Doo movies. What do you expect? But this one was pretty decent. I had a really good time watching it, and it's a great find for Halloween season. Check it out. Number six, Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf from 1988. This is a great one of the classics. This is one where it's just Scooby, Shaggy, Scrappy, and Shaggy's girlfriend. Dot dot dot. There's no Fred, Daphne, or Velma. And in this one, Shaggy is a drag racer, which is kind of hilarious considering he's such a fraidy cat, but drag racing is just fine. And in this one, you have Dracula as Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the mummy. All of the Universal monster creatures are real, and their werewolf just retired. And therefore, they need to find a new werewolf to race in their annual Halloween drag race. So they find Shaggy, who's supposed to be the next werewolf. They manipulate him at a drive-in to where he ends up getting the right amount of moon to turn into a werewolf, and he ends up having to go to Dracula's castle with, his girlfriend and, Shaggy and Scooby and Scrappy, and he has to drag race with all of these monsters if he wants to go back to being human. Because if he loses, which Dracula is very much trying to manipulate him into losing so he can keep him basically, but if he loses, he stays a werewolf forever. If he wins, he can go back to just being Shaggy. It is so goofy and so fun, and just all of the different monsters in it are a great time. And I just really love the classic ones because there's definitely more slapstick than story, but what story there is really fun, and the slapstick makes it so worth it as well. So this is definitely a classic for a reason. Number five, Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers from 1987. Another one I just covered for this month. I clearly absolutely love this movie. It's another classic where it's Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy. There's no Fred, Daphne, Velma in these ones. And Shaggy ends up inheriting this southern plantation from his passed away Uncle Beauregard, who is now apparently also a ghost. The place is super, super haunted, but there's also this legend of these family jewels, and there's these riddles that they have to follow. However, the place is super haunted with both real and maybe questionably real ghosts. So they hire in these ghost exterminators that are, in fact, ghosts themselves, the Boo Brothers. And so many hijinks. I said in my review, this movie is 10% treasure hunt, 90% hijinks. There's just so many chase scenes and so much silly slapstick, and it's great. It is, again, chicken soup for the spooky soul. It is very, very much a fun, relax, watch this, giggle along kind of movie. Really, really recommend. And also, again, please check out the video for Scooby Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. Number four, the live action Scooby Doo from 2002. Yeah, I loved that movie. Obviously, I loved that movie. I'm supposed to love that movie. That was my generation's movie to love that movie. And Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Fred and Daphne still gives me life to this day. Matthew Lillard is still the voice of Shaggy. I mean, also, literally, he's the voice of Shaggy since Casey Kasem retired, and he does all the voice acting for him now, but also he's just a perfect Shaggy. And Linda Cardellini as Velma was another fantastic choice. I love that Freaks and Geeks girl ends up being Velma. That's just spot on. I also love that Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, plays the proprietor of Spooky Island. So this is the movie where the Scooby Gang ends up breaking up after just fighting so much from all their mystery solving and, you know, fighting over who takes the credit and who works too much and who doesn't. And so several years go on, the gang all tries to work on themselves, but then they all end up getting summoned together to go to Spooky Island, where a whole bunch of spring breakers have been going missing. And quickly find out there's a lot more that meets the eye with all of this, as they are resisting the urge to team up again, but inevitably teaming up again. It is so funny and it is so great, and I saw it twice when it was still in theaters. Just, yeah. And again, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Daphne together, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar as Fred and Daphne. They're interchangeable at this point. I Perfect casting, absolute perfect casting, makes my heart all happy. And this is also where Daphne, who has always been my favorite character, gets the glow up from being the girl who always gets captured into being the total badass that, knows self defense and can really kick butt.
Now who's the damsel in distress? Straight up.
And I love that a lot of the cartoon movies take the cue from this one to actually make her more of a fighter in the following movies and not just the girl who gets captured anymore, which is fantastic. So thank you, Scooby Doo from 2002. And now breaking into the top three, Scooby Doo on Zombie Island from 1998. This movie was incredible. I remember when it came out. I remember how many times I watched it on Cartoon Network, how many times I rented it from Blockbuster. It was absolutely everything. And I was obsessed with wanting to become a cat creature. I just wanted to be one after this movie. I was like, nope, I'm going to be a cat creature. And actually, if you saw my So Weird video, I wanted to be a siren. So I wanted to be a cat creature siren. I wanted to be able to be like the siren type that can lure people with my song and make them do things. But instead of turning into more of a harpy creature, I wanted to be able to turn into a cat creature. And this was what my young mind used to think of all the time. Anyway, but this is again same trope as the live action one at the beginning is where the gang ends up breaking up, and years go by. They're all doing their own separate things, and then they decide to get back together. This one is not because they were fighting at all. It's because it's Daphne's birthday, and Fred sets up this thing where they're going to take a haunted tour of America and try and find real ghosts. Whereas, Velma is mostly just there to be with everybody, not actually planning to see a real ghost. But Daphne is really determined to try and find real supernatural events. And that leads them to this island off of the coast of New Orleans, where it is again Southern plantation, and they end up meeting the lovely woman who owns the place as well as her maid, and there's also the boatman and the creepy caretaker and tropes. Um, but it's also really funny because there are so many cats on this island, and there's this whole running gag with Scooby Doo and all the cats, which is absolutely classic. And this was just such a good movie. And I remember, being the young kid that I was and being like, oh my God, they haven't made a Scooby Doo movie since like the olden days. And as I said in my Boo Brothers video, I thought that like the Boo Brothers, Reluctant Werewolf, Ghoul School were all made in like the 60s, 70s. So I didn't realize just how close together they were with the 90s resurgence up until literally doing research for this month. So that was new. But the vibes in this movie are absolutely great. It was, one of the more modern day ones where they once again reestablished in the movies the monsters are real, whereas in the cartoon and the series they're usually not. So it was just wonderful. And everyone who's seen it, I think, loves it. I don't think I've ever met anyone who does not love this movie. If you didn't, please put in the comments below. And also, I feel sorry for you a little bit. Number two, Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost from 1999. We all knew this one would be up there, right? Like, that, this is no secret, this is no surprise. The introduction of the Hex Girls
Witchcraft.
into my young life was obviously very influential. Also, it being one of the first Tim Curry collaboration with Scooby Doo, which was absolutely fantastic and perfect. And the fact that it starts out like a old-fashioned mystery with, the unmasking of the ghost, and then turns into just kidding, there was real stuff happening here all the time too, is also a fantastic twist and just really hits you in the Scooby Doo. Like, I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, obviously, Hex Girls had a lot to do with this growing up. And just having that influence in goth girl culture, as well as having, it's a witch and a ghost, that was so cool. Also having the little nods to the Salem witch trials, even though they did have some very, very inaccurate philosophy on the difference between witches and Wicca. But that aside, everything else about it was absolutely great. I love the giant turkey. I mentioned this before in my video. And yeah, if you haven't seen Scooby Doo and the Witch's Ghost, I don't know why you're watching this video, to be totally honest with you, because that's kind of one of the big ones. And please check out my video for that one as well. And finally, our number one, and by our, I mean my number one favorite Scooby Doo movie of all time, Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School from 1988. I absolutely love this movie. It is a classic. This is, again, one of the ones where it's just Scooby, Scrappy, and Shaggy. And Shaggy ends up taking a job as a gym teacher at a school for girls, unknowingly that these are all monster girls or ghouls. And they are all the daughters of the famous Universal monsters. So you have Dracula's daughter, the Phantom's daughter, Werewolf's daughter, Mummy's daughter, Frankenstein's monster's daughter, etc. And it is so cute. And they have like, they've got a dragon named Matches, which is so cute because he can, breathe fire, but not a lot. So that's kind of adorable. And there's this boys' military school across the way, and they have an annual volleyball competition, and the girls usually end up losing. So Shaggy's there to literally help them get a trophy, and it's absolutely adorable. But unknowns to them, there's also this evil witch living in the swamp that wants to kidnap all of the girls and brainwash them into being her minions, and to also help control their dads. So that was like a cool little twist as well. It is so fun. I love all of the girls. They're absolutely great. And yeah, it's just a fun classic movie. And if you haven't checked that one out, please check that one out. It is such a classic. It is so fun. And that's really all I can say about it. It's just great stuff. So that has been my top 10 favorite Scooby Doo movies. Please, once again, comment your favorite Scooby Doo movie in the comments below. I would love to hear it, especially if it's one I haven't seen yet. Also, if you haven't yet, please check me out on Patreon. Uh, my patrons will end up getting advanced content before other people can see it here on YouTube, as well as getting a shout out on my channel itself. That would be super helpful. I definitely want to get some better equipment coming in here and just want to help keep this channel growing. So, I've been Obscure Girl, and the rest is confetti.